Thursday morning, April the 18th, here in Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to the Morning Brief. I'm Cardow.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzama, and of course, I'm sure they are wondering what's happening. Cardow, what happened? Where's Bukola?
So Bukola is under the weather, caught some flu. It's been very hectic a few days for her, so just time to rest and recuperate. So Bukola, rest. Do not watch us, because I know there's that work mode you're in right now.
Exactly.
And it's important to always pay attention to rest your health, really. So try to rest when you can and pick up the work much later. But right here, we're forging ahead, guys.
Yeah, just try and sleep. That's all I can say. Sleep is a good solution to some of the stress that everyone feels. Yeah. I don't play with sleep, and I don't apologize for it.
Yeah.
I work hard. I sleep very well. Whenever I have the opportunity to sleep. So, hey, you start with sleep. Don't watch us, Bukola, okay? I know you would have woken up by default, 4 o'clock. That's when she wakes up.
4 a.m., just wake up.
4 a.m., she wakes up. And then she starts running around, getting ready to be here. But just chill. You can always go back to YouTube and watch what you missed.
Much later. So.
Much later. So there's a lot to talk about on the program today. But kind of one of the things that caught my attention is the Ogun State end of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in terms of controlling traffic.
Right.
It's just disturbing. If you go to that, is it garage they call it now, coming towards OPIC, the way those buses park and pick passengers and all of that, is quite painful to see. So sometimes you're driving out, maybe you're coming from Isheri or Omale, any of those, as you're driving out, they block that bus stop area, so you're forced to enter the express almost on the third or the last lane, and that can cause an accident.
Really dangerous.
And no matter how much you honk or scream or shout, those guys, they don't care.
And I think we need to reiterate this, as we've always done. Commercial operators, vehicle operators, are not above the law, but it looks like they are when it comes to road and traffic rules. Park anyhow, I'll just use that term, obstruct the laybys. You see them right in the smack of a road.
Exactly.
They just park without indicating that they want to park. And they of course,
own the road, literally.
Own the road, literally. And you see traffic officials from time to time right there, and they look away. So this is yet another call to traffic management officials, government across states. And this is what you find across board. Let us also pay attention to the commercial vehicle operators. I mean, we saw what happened on the Third Mainland just recently. There were talks about the vehicle losing control of its brakes and the rest. We're still waiting for the outcome of the investigation. But it's important to ensure that the same the stringent manner in which you handle the private operators or private vehicle owners, you should always use that for the commercial vehicle owners.
And I think we talked about it when we had Mrs. Korede here, and we're going to keep reminding her, because she comes around whenever these issues are raised when it comes to construction. So traffic management is quite critical, including the one here as you drive out from our estate, OPIC, you want to go to the express.
You people have done a lot to Jeff.
No, it's a lot. I even think that the traffic management team, sometimes they get overwhelmed and exhausted, because how many of these guys can you really control? So sometimes I feel for them. Sometimes they look away because they are tired. Sometimes they look away because of complicity. There are several reasons they could have looked away. And then when you're turning, like you're returning back to Berger, that's that median, that place. If you drive at night, it's always very dark. So if you're not careful, you pass and you find yourself going towards Long Bridge. So I would advise to the authorities, if there is something we can do.
Proper markings, right?
Markings, maybe
a reflector that shows that this is a U-turn.
Because you just drive and you're forced to slow down at a certain pace on an expressway because you're not sure of passing that particular median. So I think the road is for all of us to use. So this is our own little 2 cents. So the authorities and traffic management team that, look, you have to do something. And those of you who are commercial bus drivers, whether it's what did you call it, the other one? Mini buses?
Right.
Please, you're also Nigerian. You're not above the law. I don't even know what Nigeria has to do to you for you to just obey the law. So try and do something. It's for the safety of all of us so that we can all be happy, because I've gone through a lot in the hands of those people. You honk, you scream, no matter what you do, those guys, so they can even park.
Right.
And just be doing their thing. It doesn't concern them.
That's terrible, really. And it cuts across, as we've said. It might be the micros in Ibadan, the tricycles in other parts of Korokwe in Lagos. It cuts across. So let's fix that. But that is not all we have for you on the show. That's a tip of the iceberg, really. So let's get into the realm of our package for you this morning. We start with one big question. Who is checking the prices? That is where we start off on the show this morning. When prices of goods stay up in spite of the significant fall in the value of the dollar, who comes to the rescue of Nigerians who, at some point now, seem to be at the mercy of the sellers? Who will intervene on behalf of Nigerians when, as someone said, the ceteris is not paribusing? Well, on the show this morning, we have the Consumer Protection Council joining us to answer all of those questions.
I didn't see that coming.
You have to give it to Nigerians.
I have to look at what you said, and I remember, oh, I know what he's saying.
When all things are not equal at this point.
It's not paribusing at all. But that's not all. If you've been watching the news, well, we have to prepare for the floods. You may have seen the floods at the Dubai airports. And of all the things that have been said about Dubai and all of that in Oman, well, they had their fair share of nature. A stark reminder that nature will always be more powerful, but might just have an edge with enough preparation. Here in Nigeria, there have been flood projections. We find out where, when, and what you and I can do to prevent another wailing and lamentation as far as the flood is concerned.
It's really important, absolutely. But that's not all. We turn our attention to fashion, really. I mean, what is life without clothing, right? The spring and summer fashion collections are out. So let's bring you the latest fashion trends through the eyes and wardrobe of someone who's been described as a forerunner in Nigeria's fashion scene. Made and designed in Nigeria, quite all right, but Zizi Cardow is gunning for the world.
Well, for Nigerian context, we don't have spring and summer. We have Harmattan. That's what we are close to. We have rainy season and we have the dry season. So it's our own Harmattan, rainy season, dry
collection,
season.
Right? But because fashion is global, you have your collections per time. So for this one, they call it spring and summer.
That's always my argument. Why must we contextualize global concepts around other people's weather?
So this is fashion, and it's a very good and interesting argument, because this is fashion. It does not connote the reality of the weather. It just talks about, if you go on a website now, you want to purchase clothing, you see spring collection, you see summer collection.
Website.
So if you want to, sell this out there, you have to use terms that your market can also relate with. So that's why you have that.
Bracket, wet and dry. I'm just
pro-African. Or just have different platforms for different areas.
I'm just pro-African, pro that. Because I even thought about it. Why one of the biggest fashion shows in Nigeria shouldn't just be Lagos Fashion Show. Right. We should have Aba Fashion Show, given what they do in that part of the country in terms of enterprise and fabrics and all of that. I think we should just domesticate some of this global concept and have our own big things happening for all of us.
I think I've seen something in Anambra, actually, fashion show. And
I saw it in Anambra.
Yeah, it was quite beautiful to see. And you see that across board, really. Nigerians are actually doing great things.
We're doing great things. So, but don't worry, I understand. Kyle understands what I'm saying. No, we know wet season, so we can't wear this in the very hot weather. But we have the ACs here, so we have to wear this. And it makes us look calm and comfortable.
Absolutely. And I should say that we're rooting for Tunde Onokoya. He's begun his record-breaking feat.
Oh, boy.
He's almost, first day is almost over.
How long is
over
later?
58 hours.
No, 58 hours over...
Almost 3 days.
3 days, yes. About 3 days.
So over 2 days. But he's almost at 24 hours. In about 8+ hours, he'll get to 24 hours, and then we can start. So he's doing well. He's been destroying those opponents, and we wish him the very best.
Maybe you tell them what he's doing, because you just say, what is he doing in New York?
Very important. If you don't know at this point, we'll talk about that later. Now, Tunde Onokoya, founder of Chess and Slums, is trying to raise first $1 million to support the cause, bring children out of the slums, give them education, clothing, the basic things, and of course, empower them with chess. And he's doing this by undertaking this mission to break the Guinness World Record for the longest chess game played without losing. Okay, so he has to play against different opponents. At some point, 2 opponents at the same time. He's not new to that. And he must not lose. Nigeria
in New York.
New York, Times Square.
Times Square in New York. So it's not hidden. So the people at the Guinness Book of World Record are there to see that he's winning. And that guy is brave.
Jeffrey.
Not losing. I saw some of the videos yesterday. I was like, oh, no. You know, we had him on the show.
Yeah.
So we're going to host him when he comes back. So you know how it works. When they do these big things, this is the place to stop by to tell us how they did it. So, Tunde, we're rooting for you. The Morning Brief, Channels TV, the entire Nigeria, everyone. I'm sure the entire Africa is rooting for you. So do it for us, make us proud, and get that $1 million so that the children can get out of the slum and get back to class.
Yep, he's raised some amount, by the way, so go there, go watch him live and support him. But you can be a part of the show as always. You can do this on WhatsApp. The number will be on your screen and the hashtag CTV Morning Brief. Let's do this together, shall we? Get in your questions, your comments, if you've got videos, whatever. If you've got encouragement for Tunde and Okoya, send them in.
And the prices of things in your area, how much is it? Send it to us on WhatsApp. How much was it last year? How much is it right now? Well, we're talking prices today.
Absolutely. So, are you ready for this? The Morning Brief starts off with the top stories in just a few seconds. Stay with us right here. Your top stories on the Morning Brief. And we'll begin with some interesting sides in the political party of the PDP. It was a reunion of sorts from late last night up until early this morning as the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, together attended the PDP National Caucus Meeting in the nation's capital, Abuja, and of course, this is coming ahead of the party's National Executive Committee meeting today. But this is the first time the former Rivers State Governor will be attending a meeting of the PDP since the presidential election last night. Mr. Wike has been at loggerheads with PDP leadership and did not support the party's choice of Atiku Abubakar as presidential candidate of the party. But this caucus meeting is one of the series of meetings by members of the party ahead of the NEC meeting, where critical decisions regarding the leadership of the party and other thorny issues that have threatened the unity of the party will be discussed. Well, following that particular situation in the nation's capital, Abuja, but let's turn our attention to another incident that played out yesterday. It was a full day of intrigues in Abuja as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, tried to arrest the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, in order to arraign him over corruption charges. Well, the attempt to arrest the ex-governor led to the laying of siege to his residence located in Wuse Zone 4. But in spite of the heavy presence of the EFCC operatives, Mr. Bello's successor in office, that's Governor Usman Ododo, is reported to have whisked him away. That's according to the EFCC. Meanwhile, two conflicting court rulings emerged in respect to the attempt to arrest a former governor by the EFCC. One of the rulings, which came from a Kogi State High Court sitting in Lokoja, restrained the EFCC from arresting, detaining or prosecuting Mr. Bello, while the EFCC obtained permission from the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja to arrest the ex-Kogi State Governor in preparation of his arraignment, or ahead of his arraignment, which is expected today.
It's clear already that the whole thing is politically motivated, as it is now. You can see it. Every normal human being can interpret what is happening now. The former governor just paid a visit to Mr. President just a day before yesterday. And today, this attack came. It's clear. You can read it. You can read within the line.
I am not sure those guys are from EFCC because there is a subsisting court order. I am sure they have regard for rule of law, and I don't think they are above the law. So I have my doubt. I have my reservation. Maybe they are not from EFCC.
Let's give you a quick explainer on how we got here. The EFCC had in March indicted Mr. Bello in an alleged diversion of about, almost 100 billion naira, I should say, an offense said to have been committed months before he assumed office as governor in September 2015. Well, the anti-graft agency had joined him in the amended suit alongside the chief of staff of Kogi State, Ali Bello, and one Daudu Suleiman, who was rearranged by the anti-graft agency before Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja. So it's going to be a big day, definitely. But that's not all. The Coalition for Democracy and Justice, that's a group, is asking the EFCC to desist from what they describe as the illegal attempt to effect the arrest of Mr. Yaya Bello, despite a court order restraining the commission from doing so. Addressing the news conference in Abuja, the convener of the group says the action of the anti-graft agency is capable of threatening democracy and the rule of law.
Now it is important that we advise the EFCC not to make itself susceptible to any action that might be deemed as violating the sanctity of the judiciary. They must ignore the antics of all those who are urging them to commit contempt of court through disregarding an outstanding court order against the arrest of the former governor Yaya Bello or any of his aides pending determination of the case in court in that regard, as instituted by the lawyers of the former governor. The rule of law is lifeblood of democracy. Therefore, we urge the EFCC to always toe the path of legality in carrying out its mandate. The Commission must deliberately avoid the temptation of falling under the pressure of disgruntled political elements by breaking the law in their actions to uphold the law. All of those concerned must follow the due process of law by abiding with subsisting court orders. We do sincerely hope that the EFCC, as a law-abiding agency, will see through the poorly veiled, ignoble actions of those undesirable political elements and refuse to act illegally. But our optimism may be short-lived, as in vagrant disregard to that court order, which the Commission has appealed and pending for hearing on May 22nd, April.
On the contrary, however, senior advocate of Nigeria and human rights lawyer Mr. Femi Falana has faulted a court ruling asking the EFCC not to arrest or prosecute any individual, particularly the former governor of Kogi State. Mr. Falana was reacting to a ruling by State High Court in Kogi asking the FCC not to arrest the former governor of Kogi State, Yaya Bello. In that statement which he put out, the senior advocate said, by virtue of Section 35(1)(c) of the Constitution, the police, anti-graft agencies, and other prosecutorial bodies cannot be prevented by a court of law from arresting a criminal suspect once there is reasonable suspicion that he or she has committed a criminal offense. Let's talk security now. President Bola Tinubu is sending out a warning to those threatening the nation's sovereignty that they will not go scot-free. Well, the president made that statement during a meeting with the Pan-Yoruba Socio-Political Group, Afenifere, at the presidential villa in Abuja. The president emphasized his government's proactive approach in combating criminal elements, just as the Afenifere leaders also urged President Tinubu to consider restructuring the command structure of federal security agencies for equitable representation.
We have degraded terrorism to a level that they could not threaten the sovereignty of this country any longer. The banditry kidnapping that they've resorted into will also be defeated. Those that might thought they can threaten the sovereignty of this country will have themselves to blame. They have a price to pay.
Well, some more politics now. The anticipated arraignment of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, has been stalled. That's due to the Kano State government's inability to serve criminal charges against him. Mr. Kanu, alongside his wife Hafsat Kanu, his son Umar Abdullahi Umar, and 5 others were slated to face 8 counts, charges including $413,000 bribery allegation and a diversion and misappropriation of funds amounting to 1.38 billion naira. The presiding judge, Justice Nab, adjourned the matter till April the 29th for further proceedings. Meanwhile, Mr. Kanu has been speaking on his suspension as the national chairman of the party, claiming that those who announce his suspension are sponsored by the ruling New Nigeria People's Party in Kano State. Addressing a delegation of APC members from the state led by the state chairman, alongside executives of Mr. Kanduje's ward in Dawakin Tofa local government ward in Kano State, he described those who announced his suspension as his imposters, who will be made to face the wrath of the law. Speaking of the law, Justice Bintan Yako of the Federal High Court in Abuja is set to rule regarding an application to transfer Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, from the custody of the Department of State Services, DSS, on May the 20th. The Kanu's counsel, Aloy Jimako, is seeking either house arrest or placement in another law enforcement agency's custody for Mr. Kanu. The hearing will continue as Justice Yako reviews arguments on this matter. Let's talk business now. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Mr. Yemi Cardow, has addressed concerns over the decline in external reserves, maintaining that the decline is not because the Apex Bank is defending the Naira. Mr. Cardow further clarified that the decrease in foreign exchange reserves were primarily due to debt repayment and other standard financial obligations rather than efforts to defend the Naira. Speaking at the ongoing spring meetings of the IMF and World Bank, he added that his team at the Apex Bank is determined to nurse a foreign exchange market ruled by the principle of willing buyers, willing sellers.
And I want to try and make this as clear as possible. It is not our intention to defend the Naira. It is not. And much as I have read in the recent few days some opinions with respect to what is happening with our reserves and the central bank defending the Naira, if you think back to what our overall policy and philosophy has been here, you can see it's counterintuitive. Okay, basically what we're encouraging is for the markets to willing buyer, willing seller, price discovery. And ultimately, I perceive a future where central bank will really not need to intervene, okay, except in very, very unusual circumstances.
Well, let's talk about the heavy rains that has been battering Gulf states, causing flash floods that have killed 20 people and disrupted flights at world's second busiest airport. Dubai International Airport says it is facing very challenging conditions. And further north, a man died when his car was caught in flash floods. In Oman, rescuers found the body of a girl in Saham, bringing the death toll in the country to 19 since Sunday. And on to sports news, Arsenal made a bitterly disappointing exit from the Champions League as they were beaten by Bayern Munich in a euphoric atmosphere at the Allianz Arena. Joshua Kimmich's powerful 63rd-minute header from Rafael Guerrero's cross was enough to send the Germans through. On the flip side, Real Madrid exacted revenge on Manchester City to reach the Champions League semi-finals, 4-3 on penalties after withstanding a barrage at the Etihad. Well, those are the top stories at this hour. Clearly, lots of talking points, but Jeffrey joins me to walk through those talking points that you, of course, have sent in. Jeffrey.
Exactly. Just sad pictures of, what would you call it now? Just very, will it be disturbing or, let me just say disturbing pictures we're seeing from the Gulf states. Yeah. Nature's wrath at its finest right there. And you can see, we always say great things about Dubai, but when nature knocks, everybody stands attention. So that's what happened. So you can see, I even saw pictures of some of the airline operators, the hostesses and all of that, you know, trying to drag whatever it is, trying to plane in water and all of that. So our thoughts and our prayers are with everyone that's been affected. We understand about 20 people are dead, particular incident. So that's why we need to, those are the pictures coming from Dubai. Yeah, you're seeing it, that's Dubai for you. So from Dubai to Oman to the places we call the Gulf states, all of this affected at the end of the day. So look at the level of water very close to the window. Is that a cat or something? Okay, that should be a cat.
Yeah,
Try to hang on to whatever it is
everybody. And you know what, let's just get into what Nigerians have been saying about this situation on X. It's a shocking one. We'll get you live reporting from Dubai any moment from now. But let's see what you're saying first. I mean, look at that, guys. This is from Pieces 101 essay. Jeffrey, it says...
okay, this is for, she says...
someone somewhere,
and someone somewhere is fuming. That is why...
why is the Lagos government...
That's why the Lagos government demolishing property that's on drainage system or the one near the beach. Despite the fact that Dubai has everything, see how everywhere is flooded. Now think of the situation that Lagos is covered with 60% of water. Okay. Lagos is literally covered everywhere with water.
All right, so...
60%, okay, let's take that for you.
Well, Dr. Mark Bull 60 also says, while Dubai is known for its dry conditions and arid climate, this recent deluge highlights the city's vulnerability to extreme weather events. And a lot of people found out recently what seeding is all about, how seeding works, and they never knew about that before, how to control weather, or how the country controls its own weather. But that's just some of the things people are saying.
Okay, Matt Sponsor says, consequence of artificial rapid development, I fear for natural disaster. Nature must find its way. It's like water. It will find its way. It's fire. It will find its way.
So keep those comments coming in. Of course, we're going to be getting into our own share of coming floods in the next weeks and months. So stay with us right here on the Morning Brief. Let's talk about what happened yesterday in the nation's capital, Abuja. The EFCC trying to arrest former governor of Kogi State.
It was a big drama, by the way.
Yeah, the current governor came in, and the EFCC is reporting that he actually took the former governor away in his convoy. So, well, Chukwe Book 9804 is the first comment we're getting here, saying Nigeria is hot now. Nobody knows who is next. And I think he's talking about, you know, arrests and arrest. Those that have skeletons in their cupboard are afraid. And he's saying that do not be partial in your duty. That's the advice from that user.
And Sati says, all this drama is not needed. With proper intelligence report, 2 officers will apprehend him quietly. I remember someone said that America took 10 years. This is just a joke, by the way. America took 10 years or so to get Osama bin Laden. That if you had told a woman that her husband is with Osama bin Laden for any reason, give her 3 working days, Osama will be found. So that's
interesting. Very interesting one there. There you go. You see Raji Abdul Jalil also saying it's not about barricading his house, it's about bringing him to book if he is guilty. This is a major talking point, I know. But hey.
Yeah, he's going to be arraigned today for those count charges that have been listed against him. Mwogu Chukuma says, it looks like we're now ready to move forward. If EFCC can focus on recovering borrowed or looted funds in the hands of politicians, our economic woes will dwindle.
So keep those comments coming in, #CityV Morning Brief, or you can just do it on WhatsApp as well. But let's jump into another big one. And this has gotten you and I talking over the past few weeks, and it concerns prices in the markets. We have, well, the FCCPC joining us on the show this morning, but just get an insight as to what you're saying about prices, because the FCCPC says it's going to take action to address rising prices and protect consumers. So Max Zimmers is the first one saying a good response from the FCCPC team. Please, attention should be given to soft drinks and common stuff like rice, spaghetti, noodles, groundnut oil, which affects the general masses. It needs to be looked into, and this is a prayer for the FCCPC. So there's a lot of CCPC, FCC, FCCPC.
There's a lot. The name is quite long. So the whole idea is for them to protect consumers. Fake activist says, let the commission put more effort towards tackling the issue of hoarding, especially that of essential commodities. The supply chain should freely flow. Achieving that will potentially solve half of these unexplainable price hikes.
So I see there's a lot of support for the EFC. There you
FCC.
go. The FCCPC. It was always inevitable,
Yeah, well,
really.
you guys can just shorten this your name. It's quite
well,
long.
it comes with the territory. You have to give it a name. And with the FCCPC, exactly, you have to put consumer protection and competition as well in all of that. So those are some of the things you are saying about the big stories. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll get into that very big conversation. Do you want to know what it is? Stay with us right here on The Morning Brief. Well, let's talk about the flooding situation. Yes, Nigeria is expected to have its fair share, but the world is just looking, in disbelief and shock to what is happening in Dubai, neighboring Oman, with the death toll, the scenes from the airports, the streets. Well, this morning we're going to bring you live updates. We have our Dubai correspondent, Maiwa Adegoke, live for us on the show. Good morning, Maiwa. First, let me just ask, how is the situation there? How are you faring? I mean, it's just shocking to see what's going on.
And personally, I'm doing okay, but that's not the story for, hundreds, if not thousands, across the city, Dubai, across the country, even in other parts that are also experiencing the impact of this, what I'm beginning to call this apocalyptic type of rain. It's really serious. I had a very early morning walk around my neighborhood just to see what the situation was, and it really is still bad out there. Reports are still coming in of areas that are still very much flooded. People are being advised to stay home. So many cars are packed out. So a lot of people are not going out. And for people who are going out, who are trying to find their way around town, we're hearing over traffic situations and people just trying to navigate their ways. You go halfway down the highway and then the other half is still submerged. So it really still is a very tricky situation out there. Reports of people's homes being flooded, people who are looking for alternatives, where to stay, families that are stranded, people who don't have food at home saying, listen, I've been eating biscuits and tea for 2 days now. I need something substantial to feed on. So it really is a very dicey situation. And I think right now is not the best time to have a Ferrari or any low car if you are in Dubai, because you need something that's going to withstand that flood.
So is the water or the flood showing any sign of receding, or is increasing, or it stays as it was whilst all of this happened?
Depends on what areas we're looking at. For instance, in my neighborhood, we're already seeing government authorities swinging into action. They're bringing in this huge vehicles to sort of pump out water. So depending on how severe the situation is, it definitely will take time. A lot of roads are also closed, and definitely the same thing will be going on in all these areas, just taking in vehicles there, water tanks to pump out water and take them to flush them out somewhere else. So it really is a tricky situation right now. Initially I was like 2 days, this should clear out, but I don't see this happening in 2 days. So I'd say we should give it another 1 week before we see any significant change and before things get back to normal.
Maiwa, one more thing, because I imagine you have a lot to also plan towards. A lot of people are wondering what caused this. People have been researching cloud seeding. Some other people say, no, do not blame cloud seeding. This is something else entirely. But do we have an idea as to the possibilities while we're seeing this in Dubai and even in Oman and some other places?
Region-wide, it's not just Dubai, and unfortunately Oman, I think, got it even worse. The government of the UAE has said it is not cloud seeding, and so that's what they are saying, that it's not cloud seeding, that it's natural. But whatever the cause is, beyond what caused it, it is now the repercussions, the aftermath of it. Lives that have been disrupted, schools are already shut down for the most part. Everyone has got to go back to remote learning. The kids are home. So really it is the aftermath and how people will have to pick up afterwards. I see a lot of people already talking about insurance claims. So there will definitely be a lot to do even after the water recedes and everything is pumped away. There's a lot for people to discuss and how to pick their lives back up. I was just talking with my partner this morning saying, hey, the rent's already high. People are having to spend here and there. Now to have to figure out how to fix your house or how to fix your car or whatever expense you would need to incur because of the damages from the flood. That's a whole different conversation. And I think the next couple of weeks or even months would really be interesting, for a lot of people.
Well, thank you so much, Maiwa, for that update. And please stay safe. We'll be, of course, coming back to you from time to time for more updates. Our Dubai correspondent, Maiwa Adegoke, reporting live from Dubai, where there's been a lot of flooding, not just there, but in other Gulf states. Thank you for your time and wish you safety. Well, that's what's going on in Dubai. But let's come home. Let's bring this closer home now. And Jeffrey, you want to do the honors?
Exactly, yes. So we're talking Dubai, but here our own authorities have started warning us that if we don't want to see what's happening around the world when it comes to flooding and all of that, we need to be cautious. And they've sent out this forecast as to what is expected to happen in the coming days. So we've been joined on the program by the Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, Mr. Clement Nze. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Nze, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here again.
Walk us through what we are headed to, or what we should be preparing for, because we've seen what's happening in the Gulf state, and everybody is now clearly worried for those who have the opportunity to see what's happening there. Flooding is not new to us at all. We've been around this as far as the country has existed, but time and again the authorities have come to warn. How severe are we expected to see this year's flooding, and what can be done as soon as possible?
Okay, thank you so much. God forbid Nigeria's situation will not be like that of Dubai. However, we have come, on air to make a public presentation of what is likely to happen in the course of the year 2024. According to our prediction, in the course of the year 2024, even starting from the month of April up to November, that no less than 148 local government areas in Nigeria, cutting across 31 states, will suffer severe flooding incidents in the course of the year. And additional 249 local governments in 36 states and FCT will suffer moderate flooding incidents. Well, just like what you see, being reported from Dubai, one couldn't have expected such a thing should happen there. The issue of climate change is there, that even locations you may say it will be moderate in terms of flooding in Nigeria might turn out to become high-risk locations. The Honorable Minister of Water Resources, Engineer Professor Joseph Usef, on Tuesday, 16th of April, unveiled the document. Names of the states were listed. And then the document spelled out exactly those locations in Nigeria in the course of the year that could be flooded. And this has been disseminated to the state governors to take proactive measures ahead of time so that we don't get caught pants down. So we're expecting that there will be similar to what happened in 2023, but we don't pray to be like 2022, which was the highest so far in the history of this nation in terms of flooding incident and the destruction that took place in 2022. As usual, it is never our desire as an agency that what we say in terms of destructions that might happen should come to pass. But rather, when we give out this warning as early as possible, it is intended that the necessary action should be taken by various tiers of government and individuals to ensure that the impact is reduced. Flooding cannot be, stopped by any man, so long as rainfall is there. But what we are talking about is the disasters associated with the flooding. Action could be taken to ensure that it doesn't occur or it will be minimized. At the end of the day, we normally take our record, take stock to confirm what we predicted and what actually happened. But unfortunately, our predictions have been coming through. And according to the World Meteorological Organization, such predictions that are about 75% accurate are said to be a very good prediction. But by our actions, we can reduce that percentage of accuracy of the prediction. So let us take certain actions now before the rents actually get established across the country.
And it just naturally flows into the next question. Just in case, let's just imagine in some extreme reality that some state governors or those who are tasked with the responsibility are not aware of this and what they need to do. Can you just walk us through what some of those proactive measures should look like? Again, I imagine that all of them know, but let's again we don't want to take anything for granted. What should those proactive measures look like? So we can start, if we've not started already, we can start from today.
First of all, that's what we are doing here already, courtesy of Channels Television. Enlightenment is one of them. That we should begin to enlighten our citizens about possibility of some degree of flooding that will take place in the course of the enlightenment of the citizens. Like I said, the state governors have been informed. This should be cascaded down to the local government area, to the communities where this actually occurs. Another measure that could be taken, you know, after each rainy season and flooding season, you will see the signature of flood. You see it on the walls of our buildings. You will see it on the trees, by the highways, by our waterways. Those flood marks tell you that this is within the territory of flood. It could be that no encroachment should take place within this perimeter. What am I saying? Structures that are within the flood plain should be removed. People living within the flood plains, whether they are doing business there, in terms of farming activities, or even erecting structures in those places, they should be relocated ahead of time. We should deseat our canals, our drainages. You know, each flooding season comes with debris, rubbish carried from here and there and deposited, blocking our waterways in the cities. This is the right time to deseat our manholes. Like we see what is happening in Abuja. The FCT administration has been doing a lot of work in terms of carrying out remedial works immediately after the flooding season. Then and again, there are locations in Nigeria where this flood must always occur. The issue of developing adaptation measures, developing resilience, government should do a lot to, increase people's resilience, ability to adapt to this situation. I was in Bayelsa State in 2022. You can see the kind of structure they are building, houses they were building by the state government, so that the first floors were raised up certain meters above the natural ground level, so that in the event of excess flood that will occur, there is no way flood will get to that level of the first floor of the buildings. So let us begin to develop some adaptation measures in our built environment where we do our businesses, and then we should do a lot to help people to come back to normal life after each flooding season. So this is what the measure that could be taken ahead of time. You don't need to begin to consult drainages in the month of August, especially within the Delta region or the southern part of Nigeria. You should build such drainage systems as early as possible. Clear the drainages ahead of time before the rainy season sets in. These are some of the measures that could be taken even now.
I would like to find out exactly what your agency is doing besides awareness that we're talking about, to make sure that all of this is adhered to. Because there's one thing to have information, is another thing to implement this information. So that's the question. But before that, I want to reel out, for the benefit of our audience, you said 148 local government areas. They are in the following states. So for the benefit of the audience, these are the states, according to the authorities, that will be affected: Adamawa, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, Imo. Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Kogi, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Ondo, Oyo, Plateau, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, and Yobe State. So in terms of enforcement, because sometimes until people see these things before they start, taking action, your services as well as the other regulatory authority or people that monitor these spaces, what are you doing to ensure that both at the at the state and local government levels, even at the community level, there's enforcement? Because we need to help people stay alive and ensure that their livelihood is not washed away by flood.
Okay, thank you so much. My agency, our mandate is to a large extent advisory. In the sense that we have done the prediction, we have made it public, we have been able to translate it into 3 major languages in Nigeria. We will be carrying out a sensation program in some locations. We will gather some states together, inform them, we visit some locations to inform them. This is what we have predicted. So in other words, we do after the prediction which has been made public, and apart from using various social media, including television, radio, print media, to popularize what we have done, we'll visit as many locations we can visit to sensitize them. But largely, to a large extent, we expect the decentralized governments that have various apparatus that have been equipped by law to take the major measures to enlighten the people. In the FCT, for instance, FCT, where we are, you have development control. You have AEP, the Environmental Protection Board. There are several of them here in even the state management agencies. They are doing a lot of work in Abuja, even to the grassroots. They have developed the capacities of communities. They have what they call vanguards. They have tank criers. Community heads have been sensitized by the FCT administration. Since each state government in Nigeria has its own state emergency management agency, we expect that they should demonstrate whatever we have said and take it down to the grassroots. What are their town planning authorities doing in the states? The Ministry of Environment, Water Resources, and so on and so forth, at the state levels, what are they doing? Now, it is at the federal level that we have the agencies of government that are predicting weather. Earlier in the year, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency, NIMET, came on air to inform the nation about the onset and cessation days of rainfall in the country, the amount of rainfall to expect. Our agency, the Nigerian Hydrological Service Agency, just 2 days ago, went public to translate some weather parameters we know in Nigeria, the geology of Nigeria, water, the river systems in Nigeria, the topography, land use pattern, all kinds of things we use in our, in our prediction to come up with our own report. I don't think there's any state in Nigeria that forecasts weather or flood. It's at the federal level. This has been done and been communicated to the state governments. They should join forces with the federal government to ensure that the citizens at community levels are safe in the course of the year.
Right. So I'd like to again draw inference from what happened or what is happening in the Gulf states. We can always learn from those incidents, and it's important to, from time to time, do such. So what we had there was a year's worth of rain came down in just hours. So what was expected in 12 months came down in just hours. And I mean, just thinking of that alone, you can imagine the quantum and seeing the images. So maybe tell us again, these predictions, would we see something, is it possible we'll see something worse because they didn't see this coming and it just came in a few hours. So is there a possibility that what we would experience in Nigeria might even be worse? We don't pray for that, but just prepare us for worst case scenario. Can it be worse than what you have predicted? I'm not sure you got that, Mr. Okay,
yes, could it be worse than what we predicted?
Yes.
Now, we see what we are doing is science. Human beings trying to to see ahead what lies before him. We are trying to investigate nature. Like what happened in Dubai and Oman. Maybe they didn't see what happened, that it was coming as he did eventually. We do the best we can to interrogate nature and then make some pronouncements. Like we all sing it about the issue of climate change. It might go below what we have said. It might go above it. That is why by the time we get into the rainy season proper and the flooding season, we'll be giving updates on weekly basis and telling people this is what is going to happen within this period of time. But having made the prediction, made it public, it is always better to err on the side of caution. Be over-prepared. You will lose nothing if you prepare so well that it's going to flood, the place is going to be flooded, and it doesn't happen. It is better that you do that. So we can't say that it might be greater than what we have predicted, or it will be less than what we predicted. I remember in 2018, one of the states we didn't mention as being at high-risk flood incident in the course of the year was the first, and that is Jigawa? Sorry, it was Katsina State in 2018. That was the first state in Nigeria to fall victim to flood incidents.
Right. Okay.
So what we are saying is not to prepare us. It could be higher, it could be less.
Understandably, but I want to quickly put this in as we wind down quickly in less than a minute. So the term cloud seeding has come up yet again, and a lot of people are researching what does cloud seeding mean, even though the government there says that's not what is causing the floods. Is that something we also do in Nigeria, cloud seeding?
Well, I haven't seen it or read about it in literature to have taken place in Nigeria, cloud seeding. In fact, there was a hilarious statement that somebody made yesterday, looking for those who can stop rains or who claim that they have powers to stop rains, to move over from Nigeria to Dubai to go and stop the rains there. Now, cloud seeding is often done within the arid zones, locations that do not receive enough rainfall for various uses. It's science. Something you can, inject into the atmosphere all kinds of elements that will now coagulate the cloud, the properties, the materials that are in the atmosphere. They begin to come down in form of rain. I'm saying it is often locations that don't experience enough rainfall in the year that you can do that. In Dubai, everywhere is paved. Many places is an arid zone, quite all right, but the kind of development that is taking place in Dubai, the issue of pavement of many locations also will make it difficult for percolation to take place, infiltration. And everything will be over land flow.
Almost, thank you so much, Mr. Clement Nze, Director General of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, for bringing us this update as well as the awareness you have created. And it appears as well that we must also be prepared inevitably for some people that will be affected. We just pray that lives will not be lost. That's what's most important. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
We will shift gears now. We'll come back after this break. We did tell you to check what the prices are on whatever you buy around your area, in the supermarkets or wherever you shop, because we'll be talking about that in just a moment. The FCCPC, that long name, the person in charge is going to be talking to us on why the dollar is losing the fight against the naira, yet the prices are still up there. What are they doing about it? They've said they want to do something about it. We'll find out what exactly they're up to. Join us again.
Well, a lot of Nigerians were excited yesterday when they saw the statement from the FCCPC saying, well, they're going to be taking some action and looking into price gouging, hoarding, and the rest. It was like FCCPC came to the rescue of Nigerians. Well, let's dig deeper this morning, find out what is being done. And there you see that statement that was put out essentially from the FCCPC saying it's taking action to address rising prices and protect consumers. That is you and I, by the way, and that's a breakdown of a statement. So let's dig deeper, shall we, and speak to the man who's, well, leading the FCCPC in that mission. Will it be mission possible or mission impossible? How far have they gone? We're joined on the program by Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, who is the acting Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the FCCPC. Just so you know, the FCCPC is Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Cardow. My pleasure always.
Absolutely.
And let me reassure you that this is mission possible.
So let's get into your plan, your mission plan, really, and how far you have gone. Because this is a reality right there in the markets. People are saying, let's talk about the price of beans, price of rice, beverages, vegetable oil, and the rest. What have you found out, and how far have you gone?
Let us start first and foremost by setting the record straight. You see, we are not a price fixing agency. We don't fix prices. What we do is make sure that there are no distortions in the market by ensuring that there's a level playing ground. So that's why we don't go into our assignments blindly. People have been calling on us for a very long time, do something, do something. We said, no, just hold on. We know what we are doing. We have to do the research first and find out what's actually happening. We did that, commissioned a lot of market surveys, went ahead, sent our own operatives into the markets to really find out what was going on. That's what led to that statement that you saw yesterday. They now said we are ready to go into the markets and find out who is causing all these things, and there will be consequences. You see, what's happening is this. From the farm to the fork, you find out that there are lots of stop gaps in the meantime now, in that there are lots of checkpoints that you find along the way. Fuel costs of especially diesel has really gone up. So all that affects prices. Also, the fact that there are now market associations that now sit down together, form cartels and fix prices, and also prevent newcomers into the market. If you're a farmer and you decide to bring in your eggs to Garki market, for instance, Use market, you are told that you have to belong to an association, otherwise you cannot sell eggs in that market. That is not acceptable because of the fact that the market should be an open place so that everybody can come and display his wares and sell at his own price. That is what competition is all about. But that's not what's happening at the moment, and that is what we are struggling to fight. Also, the supermarkets. You see, we have experience from the COVID period when we now went to the supermarkets, found out how much they bought things for, and when they buy the things, and as of that time, what is the rate of the dollar. That's what we are doing right now. To also find out when they bought the things that they are now selling, what was the rate of the dollar when they bought it, and what is the replacement value now that the dollar has come down. We'll talk to them, find out what these problems are, and address them. So this is a scientific thing that you don't just go into blindly. It takes a lot of background work before you go into it. That is what is going on at the moment, Cardow.
So I'm concerned about how the FCCPC intends to achieve all of this. I don't know what your budget size is. I don't know how you'll be able to execute the plan you have based on what you said. But when you say you're going to go after these people that are gouging, raising prices arbitrarily, are you taking them to court? Are you seizing their wares? What exactly are you going to do? Because I'm imagining that if you go after them, take them to court, how much money do you have to take them to court? How many lawyers are at your disposal? All of that. So those are the questions, which is why everybody's listening to know, how do you want to achieve this? And how far-reaching, how much of a needle can it move?
We don't have to go to court. We have a tribunal. There is a Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal. That's the one that would now address all these issues as opposed to going to court. So when we sanction and by any chance the person that is a violator thinks that we have not done right, he cannot take us to court per se. There's a tribunal that he should go to first. So that tribunal, of course, would support what it is that we're doing and do what is justifiable. I know that the court system is very slow, and people would, of course, find ways and means of slowing down the process. We have seen that even during COVID, there are some supermarkets that we are still in court with. I mean, from 2020, 2021 until today. And these are things that happen. It is in our blood. It's what happens in our system. This country is like that. But what we are looking at is straightforward issues that if you sit down in an association, most of the associations don't even know that what they're doing is against the law. It's only when you educate them, tell them that, look, what you are doing is wrong. That is when they will now understand and do what they're supposed to do. And also the supermarkets. You have seen that over time, we have always conducted spot checks on supermarkets. We take it upon ourselves to go to supermarkets on like a weekly basis, different supermarkets all over the country, and find out what they do. That the price you display on your shelf agree with what is charged at the till, for instance. And if there's anything deceptive there, we correct it. As I said, that led to a ceiling, but we're not looking at it that way now. We're not being punitive. What we are doing to try to make amends so that at least the economy can move forward. Time will come when sanctions will be meted out. There's no two way about it. But for now, we're just trying to make corrections. And that is exactly the way we want to go about with the market, with the informal sector also. As from today, you see that our operatives will be in some markets along Airport Road. They will go and see what's going on by themselves, buy things. Ayo and Cardow, it's not as if money is not a problem to us. It is. But we're an organization that is self-funding now. We pay our own salaries, we take care of ourselves, and we take care of all our activities. And I believe we still have the funds to do what we are supposed to do, and we are doing it. There's really nothing to worry about the funding that you are mentioning.
All right.
Nothing
all
to
right,
worry
Dr. Abdullahi. By the way, my name is Jeffrey, not Ayo.
Okay, Jeffrey. Sorry for the mix-up. I was made to understand that the two anchors are Coyote and Ayo, but Jeffrey is Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I mean,
not a problem, absolutely. I'm concerned about how much of a needle this will move. You've been mentioning supermarket and suppliers. The greater percentage of Nigerians don't shop at supermarkets. It's the open market. What are you going to do about the open market?
Yeah. That's the informal market. That's the informal sector that I was mentioning. Informal sector is that market that you're talking about. That's the people where people go and buy yams, buy rice, buy the beans that you are referring to. All these price fluctuations that you see are caused by this association that I was talking about. There's an egg sellers association that if you don't belong to, you cannot sell eggs in Wholesale Market, for instance. So we want to go to that association, find out how they operate, and show them how they are doing things wrongly. Because whatever you do, you don't connive and fix or even discuss prices is against the law. So these are things that maybe they don't even know. So we'll have to go and let them know and try to disband these associations so that they will allow new entrants into the market. If you farm your yam, you are free to bring it from Taraba, from Benue State, come to Wholesale Market and sell it openly and freely. That's the way it should be. That's what competition is all about. And that is what we are going to go and educate them about and ensure that they do. We have had issues with pure water sellers, table water sellers, even barbers forming associations and fixing prices. You go to a barber shop, you see that the Barbers Association has a list that says if you barb your hair, this is the amount you are going to pay. That's price fixing. It's not allowed. It is something that people are not educated about. We agree. That is why I want to do that education sensitization so people understand what these things are all about, and in the process, ensure that we form that free market that's needed in the kind of economy that we run in this country. We have a delegated economy, and there has to be controls here and there, no two about it.
So Nigerians are watching right now, and they're literally hanging on to every word you're saying. As I said yesterday, when they saw that statement, there was a lot of jubilation. Finally, someone is coming to our rescue. So a lot of them will finish the show today and they will head straight to the market. Maybe some of them have quoted you, and they will go to the market woman or the market man and say, FCCPC. I'm sure they have come here and they have told you to stop raising your prices and the rest. And I know you are doing some work across the country. So speak to us. How soon can we begin to see the changes? Because the dollar has been falling for weeks now, but the prices are stubborn. They remain the same. So how soon should Nigerians go to the market and expect the drop which you are pushing for, at least some of this remedial work you're doing?
In the same manner that the dollar fell over a couple of weeks, prices would also take time to fall, of course. I am not promising you that if you go to the market today, prices will fall automatically. Things don't happen like that. Things normally take time to happen, and we are just passing the message now. Once the message becomes very clear, things begin to change. As you can see, our action in that supermarket that I mentioned earlier in Abuja here has sent a message to supermarkets across the country. And nowadays, if you go to supermarket, there is at least there's some form of sanity. You find out that there are prices on the shelf and the prices tally with what you pay when you go to the till. Normally, formally, there are some supermarkets that don't even display prices at all. It's when you pick the good that you go to the till and find out what that product costs. Or you pick all you want, go to the till, and when it is when the prices come out, that's when you decide, okay, I'll pick this, I'll drop that. These are things that are not acceptable because you are not engaging in the normal practice. So by ensuring that there was that raid, so to speak, on that supermarket and the ceiling, it led to the message being clear to others. So in the same manner, what we will do today and tomorrow would first of all send the message that we are very serious about this thing. And once we go into more and more markets and make this message very clear, people will start to behave. I am not promising that that behavior will start from today and tomorrow. All I'm saying is that once the message becomes clear, things are going to start to improve. And it will take time, but surely it will happen because we have the will, we have the capacity and determination to make sure that in accordance to the act that establishes us and in accordance with Mr. President's renewed hope agenda, we have to ensure that the right thing is done. We have seen how our minister has been running helter-skelter, talking to companies and trying to see how things are going to improve.
Right.
I've seen her paying visits to Dangote Sugar, to Dangote Cement, to even NBL only day before yesterday on a courtesy visit to her. And she kept explaining to them that, yes, the environment is very, very rough and is bad. It's very hard doing business in Nigeria nowadays. But things will improve. And there is a time to start, and that time to start is now. So since we now have a government that is willing to support us and allow us to do our work well and follow the tenets of the law, we believe that there is really nothing to worry about, and we give assurances that, yes, it may take time, but it will happen.
Well, Dr. Abdullahi, I know that you mentioned supermarkets a lot, but I'd imagine that this is also the case for those you've described as informal markets or open markets. I don't know if you're planning to shut them down as well for infractions and the rest. But just by the way, you said something about displaying prices, that some supermarkets do not display their price, and that is illegal. So does that mean across board you should always display your price? And I'm talking informal markets, for example. Does the market woman need to always put the price, maybe have a little paper where she says, paint bucket of Gary is this, just displayed? Or you go to boutiques where they sell wares, should they also be displayed right there instead of you asking, how much is this one? And they tell you 4-5, and you begin to haggle, agree 3,000. And, if you're our mothers, you beat it down to 200 naira. But that's just on a lighter note. But speak to us about displaying prices. How does that apply to different businesses?
Of course, it would be foolhardy to expect that the informal market will start displaying prices. Like the seller of Gari would have like a stick with a price displayed on it.
But what's wrong with that, though?
It may happen in the near future. It may happen in the near future. But for now, it's something that we don't envisage because of the fact that, we are used to haggling. And people that go to buy things haggle. It's a pastime for us. And if, in as much as a person sees the cost of a certain thing, if a Nigerian has the way, he would all the same ask you to bring the price down a little, or even supermarkets. You go to buy television sets, for instance, in a Samsung shop, and you find out that the customer will be asking the proprietor whether that's the last price, is there any discount, things like that. It is something that is inbuilt, is what we do. So even if we, in the long run, it happens in our informal market, it may take time. We don't plan to shut any markets. As I told you earlier, what we need to do for now is a lot of education so that people will know that forming associations, cartels, so to speak, and coming up with prices of goods and preventing other new entrants in the market is wrong. But more importantly, it's for Nigerians to have to carry us along. We can't be everywhere all the time. We keep asking people, please come and complain rather than grumble. Nigerians always prefer to grumble. We have the portal that you can come and lodge your complaint. We have opened all our doors, all our windows. Please come in, tell us whenever you find somebody doing anything wrong, and we'll follow up and do what we are supposed to do. Over the years, we have satisfied Nigerians that we are able and we are up to the task, and in the discharge of our duties, we have not been found wanting. Please feel free to let us know whenever you find any infractions going on in the market, especially this issue of cartelling, this issue of hoarding. We don't intend to go to break warehouses and remove items from there. There are other government agencies that are charged with that. But all the same, we have to work with them because we sign MOUs with government agencies, with everybody that is a regulator in any sector of the economy, and we work together. And this information is very useful to us because we share information along with them and we work together. Go ahead.
Mr. Abdullahi, it's not as if Nigerians like to grumble. I think people are just naturally exhausted. Nigerians, they've seen promises made, they've seen people fail them in successive governments. So if your agency is making that promise that you're going to be different, you have to show that you're really different, not by promises, but by action. That's why Nigerians, because when they look at the system, whether it's the police system or the judiciary, they just are too exhausted and too tired to go through that hall, and maybe they predict what will happen at the end of the day, that nothing will happen. So if there are ways that things can be done more efficiently and effectively for the benefit of Nigerians, I'm sure they will appreciate, not that they like to grumble. I just need to put that in context. Maybe you respond to that. But you've talked about complaining, so I'm going to get first complaints to you. Because the reason I'm asking this question is, more like a scenario planning, how do you want to debate with the seller? For the record, the people who don't display their prices at some point was because of the volatility. In the morning, dollar is this, in the evening is that, so they decided to let it off. That was their reason, from what we understand. But you say it's against the law. So my question is, there's a detergent I used to buy. It used to go for 5,000. Now it's 16,000, over 200%. Bread, at some point, 500 naira. Now it's about 1,800 to 2,000. That's 200% about that number. Car engine oil, from 14,000 to about 25,000. That's over 150% or over 100%. Now, if I come to you, Dr. Abdullah, your agency, I don't know what your capacity is. How do you want to address this situation? Because Nigerians, these are the things they want to see happen, not just talk shop or any other thing.
FCPC has never been a talk shop. FCPC has always matched its words with its action. So far, as I told you earlier, we have not been found wanting. Whoever has lodged his complaint with us, we have tried our very best to sort him out and ensure that we follow that complaint to its logical conclusion. And we have a lot of satisfied people to attest to that. But more importantly, all the issues that you have raised, as I told you earlier, this is a scientific sort of thing that we have to go through. We have the experience from the COVID period when we went into supermarkets, we went into manufacturing companies to find out on the day that this product came into your supermarket or your warehouse, it was bought at so and so amount of money, and the dollar rate was then so and so. Therefore, now that you have sold all that stock or you want to restock, the dollar has come down, so your replacement value is going to be much lower. How come the price is still reading high and it's not coming down? So these are the questions that we now ask. This is a scientific way of proving that what they are doing is wrong. And once you can convince them and they know that you know what you are doing, I assure you that they tend to behave well.
Right.
And that's what we have decided to do, and we have started even today. This morning, I have like 3 teams that are going to different supermarkets here in Abuja, some in Lagos, some in Port Harcourt, to go and start this issue that I'm talking about.
Right.
The informal sector, as I said, will go after the associations. That is how to go about the informal sector, the open market, as you mentioned.
Right.
We are not going to seal any market. We are not going to seal any supermarket. We are just going to do the scientific work and find out what is actually happening so that we make sure prices come down.
I know you mentioned collaboration with other government agencies and the rest, and there are also maybe pointers we can provide for state governments partnering with local governments as well, because what you find out is in those open markets or informal markets, as you put them, you have touts, you have multi-tax collectors, and they are the ones that also contribute to the high cost of those goods, those items, because the seller has to sort the tout, has to sort all of those multiple taxes, and naturally the person will pass the cost on to the buyer. So I do hope that you are factoring in all of that in those real scenarios so that we'll tackle the issues right where they are. But I'd like you to also speak to this quickly as we wind down. There's been a lot of talk around the telcos possibly planning to increase prices. I don't know if you have gotten any proposal to that effect, if it is on your table, because I know you're always in the mix when it comes to things like this. And naturally, Nigerians would perhaps say wrong timing. But the telcos are saying the operating conditions are really tough. So what is the appropriate way to go about this, at least from your end?
Let me start from the add-ons that people have to pay for. This multiple taxation that you mentioned, the local government taxes that people have to pay, the tout that you have to pay in the markets. We didn't, and we're not coming to this thing blindly. That's why I told you we did a lot of market surveys first, and we have a lot of consultants that conducted this market surveys for us. So all these issues you have raised are issues that we are aware of, and we have already on record. So we are going into this thing as an informed agency. We're not going into it blindly. That is one. Issue of telcos increasing prices, I am not aware. I've not heard anything about that so far. In fact, you are the one who is mentioning it to me for the very first time. because of the basic fact that telcos are under the purview of the Nigerian Communications Commission, as you are aware, NCC. Yes, we partner with the NCC. Yes, we even have an MOU with them, and we work together. I'm very positive that if anything like that is going to happen, it's something that the telcos have to come to the NCC and prove to them that their operating costs have risen to the extent that they cannot operate without this raise in the prices. It has happened in electricity, as we have seen. But when one of the discos didn't do the right thing, you saw how NERC came out and did what they did. And you saw we supported NRC in doing what it was doing, or in what it did. If by any chance the NCC comes to us with such a proposal and a convincing argument, I don't think we have a choice or the decision of telling a service provider how much to charge for his product. Because as I started initially from day one on this program, we don't control prices. We only assure that there is a level playing field for businesses to thrive.
So maybe as we wind down, let's get to know how best to reach the FCCPC, because you've been talking about the fact that we're above board and all of that. That's a lot of people can debate it, but you've stated your position. Where we can even talk about electricity tariff as well, because all of this ban A, ban B, and all of that, people are still complaining, and we need to get our money back for where we're cheated. But that's a conversation for another day. So if people want to get to FCCPC, whether they are getting to the informal sector or supermarket, how best and how quick can they get to you, and how quick can the response be?
Contact at fcpc.gov.ng, that's the main one. But we even have an app that you can go to either Google or App Store and download and lodge a complaint. You can go to our website, www.fcpc.gov.ng, and there is a provision there for you to lodge a complaint. And there's a complaint form that you can fill, and we get into action immediately. You get an automatic response, and the system automatically sends that complaint to the sector over which or in which the complaint is lodged. So these are the known ones for now, but feel free. We have offices in all the zones of the Federation, in Oshogbo for the Southwest, in Oka for the Southeast, in Port Harcourt for the South-South, in Katsina for the Northwest, Mina for the North Central, as well as Bauchi for the Northeast. We also have state offices in both Kano and Lagos, and plus our headquarters here in Abuja, 23 Jimmy Carter Street. Feel free or write to the EVC, FCCPC, 23 Jimmy Carter Street, Asokoro, physically, right. And when we receive, we swing into action.
Do you have like a WhatsApp number or an SMS? Because that seems to be faster for a lot of people. Not everybody can do mails and all. Do you have like WhatsApp number? Because yes, we're serving the people. We have to serve them. Not your number, yeah, the true. Agency.
I will have to share that with you. We have a 0904 number.
Okay.
And also, we're all on all the social media platforms. Twitter, Instagram, all of them. fcpc.gov.ng.
All right. Yeah. Dr. Adamu Abdullahi.
FCPC.
Absolutely. I'm trying to download the app. I'm looking out for it on my Play Store. As soon as that is possible, I'll share my feedback. But I'd like to thank you so much for walking us through the process and what to expect in the coming days. We'll be speaking with Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, Acting Executive Vice Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the FCCPC. Thank you for your time. We wish you the very best on this mission.
My pleasure always. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a moment now, and when we turn our attention to all things fashion. Yeah, it's good business looking good, right? Well, we'll bring one of the forerunners of the fashion industry in Nigeria right here on the show, so you don't want to miss this. Stay with us. know how they always say you are addressed the way you dress, or looking good is good business, all of that. Well, clothing is one of the basic needs of man. It's just right there on Maslow's hierarchy when it comes to shelter, feeding, and clothing. It is basic. But then you find people who take it up a notch. They add so much vibrance, beauty to that simple clothing. And this morning on the show, we're talking fashion with someone who's been described as one of the forerunners of the fashion industry in Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us live on the Morning Brief is High Chief, you have to put that, High Chief Zizi, Cardow, veteran fashion designer. Good morning, welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, good morning.
I didn't want to commit any offense, so I had to put the High Chief.
Oh my goodness.
And I know we were bantering about that before we started. Why High Chief? How did that come?
I mean, it's a title, like you would have a chief, you have the High Chief. And so, High Chief, Chief, whatever, you know.
So, High Chief, I understand you're also a doctor.
Yeah, honorary.
Honorary doctor. So the High Chief, just by the way, for a lot of people who don't understand, it means that you have a chieftaincy title.
Yeah.
And then another chieftaincy title. So it's double chief.
Yeah.
So where are they from, the chieftaincy titles?
The High Chief is from my constituency. My local government is Cardow local government, which is in Abia State, Nigeria. And the title is Adeji Agamba, which is like an ambassador.
Right.
For the people, a daughter that we can, you know, send out. And then the chief itself is from my village proper, which is called Umobiala in Issaquato. And it is Chinyelugo of Obialugo. Obialugo is our kind of like autonomous name.
Yeah.
And then the Chinyelugo is like a beautiful eagle, you know, that is given to us and stuff like that. So, yeah, it is just my people saying, you know, I think the whole thing came about when I had an event celebrating my, I think, 10th anniversary at the Eco Hotel. And I had one of my fathers, a king that came for the event. And he was like, oh, wow, I didn't know we had a daughter who is doing us proud. And so he wrote back to the elders, and yeah.
High Chief Zizi Cardow. We know we don't play with our chiefs just in this part of the world. But let's talk about what you do. You've been described by some as one of the forerunners of the fashion industry in Nigeria. You say that you don't just create for the Nigerian fashion space, you create with the international market in mind.
Yeah.
But walk us through how this all started for you. Why fashion? You're beautiful, absolutely.
Thank you.
So did that come naturally? I'm beautiful, I'll do fashion naturally, or you had to really learn this?
It was something, I've always been into the fashion business, but on a more industrial
scale.
Yeah. I used to do uniforms for companies like Halliburton, Maersk Line, Coastal Service, a lot of all these shipping lines and oil companies.
Were you doing it from here?
I was doing it here, and I was also servicing restaurants and stuff like that. So yes, I've always been doing fashion in that aspect, but I thought to do something a bit more, because I love the African fabric, as it were. I love the local fabrics. I love all the things that we do with the local fabrics, which is like the Ashoke, Akwete, Kurukurubite, whatever it is that we have, Akwacha, all of those. And so I was designing for myself. And eventually I thought, I think for me, the highlight of it, or would I say the aha moment for me was I traveled to, was it Senegal, Ivory Coast once, and I saw this wooden shop, and I so loved the vibrancy of the fabrics. I love the patterns, I love the motifs and all of that. And I was like, you know, I could do a lot with this. And so I bought quite a lot of it, and I came back and I started then it was just Zizi Ethnic. And because I had this vision that we could do a lot. We could kind of like create and identify ourselves as Nigerians first, and then as Africans. Because you look at the Kenyan, the Maasai, you look at the Niger people with their boo-boos and the Senegalese thing that they wear. You look at so many other African countries. They have a kind of identity. Even a Ghanaian, you see him with his kente wrap. You have an identity. But as at that time, which was about 1999, 2000 and stuff, we're much more into the Western fabrics, Western clothing, and all of that. A lot of people do the boutiques, and if there was anything that was then was people buying a lot of laces. And my dream was, you know what, I need to create a kind of identity for us as Nigerians. And so I started creating stuff with the Ankara and every other African fabric. And of course, initially it was difficult. I keep saying this. And for the first 1 year, I sold just the one outfit because people thought I was going bonkers. How could you make anything out of the Ankara? Ankara, of course, then, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, was seen as a poor man's fabric. Ooh. I mean, if you understand, any of you growing up, you would know then that it was just the market woman that would have the wrapper. Or if a woman gives birth, it's given to her to use as, covers for the baby or to tie the baby, behind and all of that. But I saw potential in it simply because I feel we can create an identity with it. And so I started doing that with all kinds of fabrics that we had. And I think when I realized I was onto something was I got into a competition then with the Nigerian fashion show organized by Lexi. And then I won the competition for Design of the Year because I, again, used all the fabrics, interpreting my ideas or interpretations from my cultural background and all of that. And yeah, we won the competition and we had an all-expense-paid trip to, I think it was Milan or something, or France, I can't remember. And so that was the beginning of me taking our fabrics or whatever it is that is ours and taking it outside. And since then, it's been something I do.
So impressive. So walk us through how you reimagine things when it comes to fabrics, because the show is all about a learning curve for young people as well, who may be watching you, who may have heard of you, may never have heard of you, but just are inspired to say, okay, whatever she's doing, I think I can. Yeah. So help us walk through that process of your thought process, I should say, of how you reimagine fabric and reposition it for these victories that you've recorded. Well, first and foremost, my interpretations has always been coming from my cultural background. And as an Igbo person, I try to, how would I say, interpret it and produce it to the point that it is more global, it is more appealing, not just to us. And so I look at pieces that, let me take my background as an Igbo person. We have, as a young maiden, let's say you want to get married, and you have what you would call the atupere, which is what we wear in then, and then you have a little piece of cloth on your waist, on your boobs area, and you have a little thing around your waist area. And sometimes you find it's lots of pieces of fabrics that are put together to make that little skirt, or just have a little wrapper around it. And so in my interpretation of stuff like that, to make it appealing for the Western or everybody else, I kind of like play with the one sleeve. Or so you find a lot of my pieces are kind of asymmetrical. They're not always all together because I see, rather than have this little bits, which really is our culture if we look at it, I try to add elements of, so it becomes kind of like cosmopolitan. It's contemporary. It's easy for everybody else. So it's not just, oh, this is just African and you have just the fabric staring at you. I now do a fusion of what you call the Western and the African
fabric put together. So I try not to make it too heavy. It's light, and you find, I would say, quite a lot of my clients are based internationally. They're expatriates, they're whatever, because it's easier when you have pieces not so... Sometimes our colors can be quite overwhelming. And so I break it down in that aspect, that it is not just about this one particular fabric or this one particular cultural interpretation of the design. So I make it where it's more interesting, where it's more globally appealing, where anybody and everybody can wear it wherever you are. I mean, instance, the last event we did, I called it ethnic fluidity, especially for the men's.
I like the name.
Ethnic fluidity.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
It might like flow like water or whatever.
Yeah, so you find that was me trying to kind of do a kind of unification in terms of, or would I say diversity and inclusion thing, in terms of bringing all the ethnic groups together. And so you find pieces that has an element of the Yoruba Buba and Shokoto, has the Ijoman's wrapper and shirt, has all the elements. You have the Hausa's Baba and Riga element as well.
Do you have the picture? Because I'm I know bits and pieces. I can imagine them separately. I'm trying to imagine.
Yeah, so we mesh them all together. And so you find this, asymmetric looking outfit that has the embroidery that has to do with the Northerners, that has the buttons to do with the Ijoman, and there has a wrapper that to do with the also the Delta and the Igbo people. So we kind of like married all of this. So this is me reimagining. Beautiful. And
just speaks to that unity and oneness that we always talk about.
Yes.
There was a time, I'm not saying there was time, recently people were asking, where is Zizi Cardow? Because for those who knew the fashion industry 10, 20 years ago.
Yes.
I mean, you know Zizi Cardow. I mean, who are you? I mean, where are you coming from? But we've seen younger, fashion designers coming up, also doing great things.
Absolutely.
And I wonder, how do you feel seeing them? Do you feel like, okay, been there, done that? And do you feel there's a lot of competition in that space? Or for you, you sort of carved your niche and you're now what they call Baban Saleh? Or how does it feel for you seeing the younger ones come up and doing great things as well?
To be honest, I don't feel pressured in any way. And I think to answer the first question, where have I been? I have been busy parenting to start with. My daughter lives abroad, and so for a bit of a spell, I had to, be with her, make sure things are okay in that department. Anywho, so yes, looking at what's happening now in the space that we have as a fashion space, it's exciting, it's beautiful, and I think it's high time. I remember when I first started, quite a few people tell me you were 2 decades ahead of yourself. Because as at that time, it was so difficult for people to understand what I was trying to project, or the dream or the vision that I had in mind. And I remember people coming into my shop space then and going, how could you think Ankara could be for any... I mean, why are you wasting your time? Why are you wasting your resources? You could have a boutique like everybody else and, bring in things. Why are you doing this to yourself? This is given to me as an advice. But I held on to that dream because I knew there was potential in what we have as a nation to what we can produce, and I stuck to it. And look at it now, the whole world is Ankara, the whole world is Africa, the whole world is really looking into, because there's a lot of talents in here. There's a lot of potential. And so I'm quite excited now when I see young people truly in that space expressing themselves. visualize, putting on canvas, because as a designer, the runway is actually your canvas. That's the only place where you can express yourself. And back then, it was difficult for people to understand that this is what it is, that the runway is a canvas where you can let go, you can let loose, you can reimagine, you can reinterpret, you can do whatever you want. And so they find it difficult to understand that, hey, you know what, if I do this avant-garde thing on the runway, don't mean that I can't do anything normal. And so you find people back then that will say, oh, I thought you only do Ankara and you don't do anything else. And I'm like, well, it's the same machine, it's the same Caesar. Right. But now we have come to understand that, you know what, this is really what fashion is all about. It's business, it's fun, it's a lifestyle. And for people now, the young ones being allowed to express themselves with any restrictions, it's really amazing. And I'm so happy and I'm glad for a lot of them.
so there's a task in my head I'm trying to put forward to you. I don't know whether you're solving it already or you will take it up, which has to do with people embracing their figure without necessarily trying to choose to go under the needle. We've seen issues around BBL and all of these things. And that is because of issues around perhaps, maybe wrong self-esteem. How can fashion help people to embrace themselves even further? I see sometimes there is accentuation and all of those things, but how broadly can fashion help people to just be comfortable in their own skin?
I think if you look at the trend as it were now and the buzzword that is going about, it's all about diversity and inclusion. And you see now a lot of the runways, not just the skinny models anymore. There's some people who have gone even further as to put models on wheelchair on the runway. So, and the last show I did as well, I had men who were, some of them were sons, some were, golfers. They were executives in different fields that, oil, whatever. They were executives in that area, and they were part of the models. And it's the same thing all around the world. People are beginning to understand that, hey, there needs to be this embrace. And I, for one, over the years, I've never subscribed to skinny models, over the years. And so when I do my shows, even if it's internationally, they always know. I always use models minimum of size 10, 12. Because there's a lot of issues that come up with sticking to skinny models. You have bulimia, you have anorexia, you have drug use, you have all sorts of things involved just for them to stay that skinny, And so I saw that a long time ago, and in my little way, I have been using, even here in Nigeria, a lot of the bigger models know that I never used the skinny one. So I think fashion is really now understanding that fact that we've done a lot of damage, not only on our carbon footprint, on the global market. Yeah. So there's a lot of damage that the fashion industry had done. So people are now beginning to learn how to write things. And globally, there's a shift in the kind of models that are being used on the runway.
Fantastic. And I think that's great to see. That we're championing all of that. There's a lot of conversation around that. Maybe we won't get deeper into it this morning for obvious reasons. But there's always been that debate around how much fashion designers charge for outfits. Again, is that a good thing to get into this morning?
No,
let's get
not?
into it this morning. So
we'll just have like 2 minutes.
So let's and then we'll run out, right? So they wonder, why is it that expensive? Is this just something for clout, just to hype your status? I mean, I saw someone who won your dress recently. Was like, I won Zizi Cardo's dress in a raffle. I'm excited because I can imagine how much it costs. So speak to us about that debate around the costs, how much you charge, particularly in this kind of economy.
Where would I start with that? No.
Okay,
no. The
do
thing
you still
is
charge
this.
10 million and above for
No.
outfits?
For me, that is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you guys were talking about the state of situations, the price, inflation, all those kind of things, dollar, all that. You were talking about it this morning. And unfortunately, a lot of us thrive in situations where we take advantage of one another, regardless of what situation it is. And so, yes, we do know that the fashion industry is money intensive.
Yeah.
For you to actually make any kind of headway, you need to have, you know, some serious markup, because you're paying for your space, you're paying, like people
Workers,
like, yes, I run generator every single day because there's never light. So, and you cannot tell your client, you know, I can't.
I wish you can repeat that for unintended.
No, but it's true. You run your gen every single day, almost 24 hours a day. And you can't tell a client that, hey, you know what, there was no power, so you can't have their clothes done on time. And so you have to do that. But still, you know, I do believe that a lot of times when people come up with this, oh, you know, the outfit is made for 2 million naira, 1 million, most times it's just for clout. People want, and it's unfortunate that we as Nigerians oftentimes relate with things like that. We feel that if it's not expensive, then it's not worth it. It's not, we have this elitist mentality.
Right.
You know, the more...
Yeah, totally.
So this is not the end of this conversation by any means. Absolutely.
Did you notice that she never told us the range of how much?
But she's given us an insight.
That she's given us.
But you know where to find that. Hi, Chief Zizi Cardow. The thing is, we can go on and on with you, really, because there's so much knowledge, so much wisdom and experience with you. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We'll be speaking with veteran fashion designer. You have to put the Hi Chief.
Double chief.
Double chief. Thank you for joining us.
You guys are funny.
Brief.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So there you go. That's the show for today. But we're back tomorrow. Hopefully Bukola joins us. She's up for it. But I'm Cardow Kikiolu. Make sure to have a great day.
Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is up next. And Bukola, get well soon. We'll be back here tomorrow by the grace of God to do what we love to do. I'm Jeffrey Zoma. Bye-bye.